Alright guys, back for part 2, I guess. If you watched part 1, you know that my pops came over on his motorcycle, so I had to spend some time with him, but we're back out here in the garage again. See if we can get this thing back together. Alright, where did we leave off? Alright, we've got that assembly done. And it is going to go let's see, nope, that will be upside down. It's going to go this way. Yeah, I like that. Wear places, wear places. That should let you know where it goes. Alright, now we need to figure out what makes this inside here. Don't know if you can see that. That's the trigger part. Now how does that work this? Because if the trigger is not mashed, then these two have to be apart. If not, the machine would run even with the trigger not pulled. So we have to keep these two apart somehow. And mashing the trigger brings the two together. So I was looking at this thing, and I don't know if you can see this or not. I'll try to show you. Right here is a knob on both sides, right there and right there. Don't know if you can see that. So a spring goes there, I'm thinking. And I noticed these two ears, one here and one here. Now this, like we just had it, sets just like that. So this knob here is in line with that knob. So I'm thinking, boy, I don't know how we're going to do this, but I am thinking that a spring goes in between this knob on the side of this metal piece and this knob here. And it makes sense to me that when those springs are in there, then it would push this up. And as you mash the trigger and this metal piece here goes below those knobs, then it would push this part up into these contacts and make those contacts make. And this might take a minute, because I can see that this very much is going to be a pain in the butt. Now I have to mash that spring. It's sitting on that plastic black knob that's in this piece, and I have to put it over. I'm thinking, let me make a mess here. I'm thinking that I have to close this up see that? Alright, I will find that spring hopefully here in just a minute. I did exactly what I was trying to get y'all not to do. There it goes again. Now this spring, of course, like I said earlier in the other video, first part, this spring here actually came out of an ink pen because when I initially took this thing apart, I had no idea what was inside it, and it all flew apart very violently and went everywhere. Boy, this is going to be a pain in the butt. see if there's a different way to do this. I'll tell you what, let's see what happens if we mash the trigger. Let's do this, then let's mash the trigger and see if we can slide it just like that. See how that goes? I'm thinking that that is right. So we're going to leave that piece, and hopefully, boy, it'd be awesome if that went in my pocket, wouldn't it? Nope, it didn't. So, let's see if we can find it. Alright, boy, that only took just a second. How in the world I managed to find that in a floor that eats absolutely everything that touches it? It's beyond me, but we did. So, I guess we will do this one the same way. Now guys, I'm not 100% sure that it goes this way. I'm really not. But it makes sense to me that this is how this would go. It just makes sense. Now, it also makes sense that there's an easier way to build a trigger. Alright. They're both in there. But I was saying, it also makes sense to me that there's an easier, simpler way to make a trigger without all of these moving parts. Now, I have noticed that as it sets right now, the contacts are apart. And all you have to do is just break one. Hopefully it breaks two. It does break two. But all you have to do is just break one, and you'll break the circuit and the machine will stop. So, let's go ahead and put this thing together. Just like so. Back this screw out to give us some room. Alright. We're going to screw this thing together. Now, I'm not making any guarantees. This thing may or may not work. I'm not 100% sure. One, two, three. Alright, I am missing the other screw that goes here. I thought that I had everything. I thought I did, but I was mistaken. So, I just so happen to have a carburetor off of a 4-stroke weed eater sitting here. It looks like it has just the right donor screw. And guys, very seldom do I ever throw much of anything away. I'm not a hoarder by any stretch of the imagination. But I can typically tell by looking at things in my garage whether it's something I will ever use again or not. And I have also found that as soon as I throw something away, that is when I needed it. Alright, so these go in here, you can tell I have a different one here. But these screw into those little brass lugs that were in there, and they serve two different purposes. One, they hold the lugs in from having any slop in them, and two, they are used to clamp against the wire to hold it in place, which I think the latter of the two is the most important. But all right, so far I'm a happy camper. I have no idea whether it's going to work or not, but all the parts are used. So let's get our grinder up here. All right. Obviously, it is unplugged. I know our trigger points down here, just like so. I believe something like that. It's about where it goes. I think something like that, I believe. I don't believe it matters which way it goes. It may. I believe it goes this way. Yep. Alright, so red to red, blue to black. And just so you know, on most everything, there are going to be a few things, but most everything, if you have two of the same colors, those two go together. Doesn't matter what the other two are. The two that are the same color go together. So our red goes over here. And I didn't show that to you, but the wire goes inside that lug, and then the bolt on top clamps it into place. All right. Just like so. All right. Now, the funny thing is, just in case this thing decides to be engaged, I'll get you right here in just a second. Just in case this thing decides to be engaged, without the trigger being pulled, I'm going to scoot this off here so we're not grabbing anything. I'll also, of course, have a hand on it when I plug it in, just in case. You never know. All right, that part's good. Well, it seems as though we fixed it, guys. Only thing we have left to do is put the handle on it, and I'll grab that real quick. And we will we'll slap this thing together and act like we have a clue as to what it is exactly that we're doing. Whether we do or not, we'll look good anyway. Alright, let's make sure that we're not. Make sure we're not pinching any wires here. Looks good. We got a little bit of a gap back here. There we go.